Hi, this is Sandy from Spitfire's Customer Experience team. The next part we're going to look at of our eDNA interface is the effects. There are two different effects areas. First, on the mixer and sequencer page, we have the effects dash, which has the most commonly used controls for the preset that you've loaded. In this case, we have some controls for our distortion and one for our convolution reverb. We can quickly alter the sound quite dramatically by changing these controls. If we want to dive deeper though, we're going to have to go to the Effects and Motor page. We can find that at the bottom here. Clicking on Effects and Motor will take us to our controls for the various different effects. If you look in the manual for Earth, you'll find the signal path for the various different effects. In essence though, we have one master effects, which are like an insert on the end of our signal chain, which will affect both sounds A and sound B after the oscillator, and potentially after the gate sequencer as well. Underneath this, we have our A and B effects, which are like inserts just before the mixer. So these will only affect sounds A or sound B. We also have our auxiliary effects, which are like sends, which come from Bay A effects and B effects above. And finally, we have our motor effects, which we'll come to in a separate video. You can click on each bay in the left-hand side here, and it will display the available effects for that bay. So looking at master effects, we have EQ, sends, which allow us to send to our auxiliary effects, stereo, which is a stereo width effect, tape saturation, flanger, phaser, convolution reverb, and limiter. You can enable or disable these by checking the box underneath the name of the effect. So for instance, if I wanted to enable the flanger on our master effects, I check this box. I can click on the image to bring up the controls that are available. If I wanted to have quick access to one of these controls, I can click the favorite button underneath and attach to dashboard. When this is red, if I click back to the mixer and sequencer page, we'll see that we should have a control for depth for the flanger. And there we do. If you want to use the auxiliary effects, you'll need to enable sends in either your master effects or A and B effects as well. Each of these controls in the sends effect for master A and B correspond to one of the effects that you'll find in the auxiliary bay, which just gives you more delays, reverbs, convolution reverbs, and some modulation like chorus and flanger. You'll see that this is quite a complex and powerful effects routing that we've built into the eDNA interface, so I'd recommend experimenting with some of the different effects. Try putting a similar effect on in your master effects, or using it as a send to see the difference. Next up, we'll look at motor effects and how these can add extra movement to your sound.